So first of all, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy schedules to participate in this webinar. Over the years, we've had some very, very, very positive feedback about it. And, to the point of a lot of times we'll see the same names, the same people that will participate multiple times over an extended period of time because they find little nuggets each time they watch it. And because Howard is so intense with the amount of data that he gives and the amount of information, that sometimes it's hard to get it in just one shot. So definitely, if for some reason there's other pieces that you want to try to pick up on, this is a webinar that we do a couple times a month. Definitely sign up again. My name is Jason Spangler. I'm the flooring division manager here at Wagner Meters. I'm responsible for not only the concrete side of the business, but the small line of hand meters that we have for testing wood subfloor and finished wood flooring. We are going to be doing a Q&A, so if there's any questions that you have, please don't hesitate to type in those questions, and I will get to as many of them as I can. Before we get into that, though, I do want to say, for those of you who know us and know me, you notice that I have green on instead of orange. Me being the type that's very color oriented when it comes to branding, there's a reason for that. Although, as you can see, I still have orange on my glasses. I'm a little bit conflicted with the colors now. We have changed from orange to green, and as we like to say around here, green is the new orange when it comes to our Rapid RH line of products. The new system that has just been launched in the last month is called the Rapid RH L6. Some of the changes, for those of you who know the orange, some of the changes to the green, a couple of them come from customer feedback and trying to make some improvements to make life easier on all of you. First thing is that the reader that we have now with the L6, we've increased the diameter and the size of the pins on the bottom of the reader, so it makes it substantially more durable than the orange easy readers that were out there. And again, that comes from feedback. I say kind of humorously that if somebody can bend the pins on the bottom of the L6 reader, they've made it their life's ambition to actually do that, because they are that much better than what the orange ones were. The other thing with the total reader is the fact that it not only has the LCD screen on the top so that you can get your readings visually, it also has Bluetooth capability integrated into it. So you can use one reader to not only do manual readings, if that's what you choose, or you can integrate it into the DataMaster L6 app and be able to seamlessly integrate all of your data recording capabilities. The sensor itself has onboard memory. So every time you take a reading with the total reader, it will store the information into the sensor. Nice thing about that is, theoretically, if the floor fails and you want to be able to go back and prove the data that you're providing to show that you did your job correctly, really does tie to that floor, somebody could find that sensor, use a total reader to extract the information out of the memory, and you could tie the piece of paper that you're offering to them with the physical sensor that's on the job. The other part of it is that it's a brand new sensor. It's a custom sensor, and it's something that between the 90 to 100% relative humidity, you'll see faster response. What does that mean? That means that in that 90 to 100% mark, you're going to see the sensor respond quicker to physical or actual changes in the relative humidity in the concrete. Last thing is the cap. The cap, we had a lot of feedback from people that the orange caps sometimes were not on the sensor when people came back after the 24-hour period. So what we did was, with the new L6 cap, we've taken butyl rubber and we've put it on the bottom of the cap so that you can pull the release paper off of it, push it down on the concrete, it'll stick to the concrete, and then there's a rubber plug that you just pull off, so it keeps everything, in essence, it keeps everything sealed and keeps the cap in place like we would hope. So that kind of gives you, that's my spiel, if you will, from a sales standpoint. That's the brand new product that's out there. If you have any questions about it, you can contact us directly or just check us out on the website. So a couple of the questions that I get a lot is it relates to with Howard's presentation. We saw that he talked a lot about relative humidity and in situ testing being a very depth specific measurement in the thickness of the concrete. So a lot of questions that I get, how do I know how thick the concrete is? Well, new construction, you have job site specifications or specifications for the thickness of the concrete. I realize that the specifications and the real world sometimes don't always jive. They're not always the same, but at least that gives you some place to start. On renovations, you end up with sometimes they move plumbing, so there'll be trenches. You can, if you're on the job to see that, obviously you can visually see the thickness of the concrete. If you have elevated slabs, a lot of times the penetrations that go through those slabs will be bigger than the actual penetration, so you can see around those. Sometimes in stairwells, you can see some different signs. Worst case scenario, I tell people, there's people have told me out in the real world that there are people that are taking smaller diameter drill bits, and they are, especially slab on grade, that they are drilling a couple of select areas within the slab all the way through to be able to have some comparison. That way you're seeing if from one end of the building to the other, if there's any drastic changes. Again, it's not a matter of turning the slab into Swiss cheese. It's just a matter of you want to have some comparative information. So what they'll do is they'll drill all the way through. They'll take a piece of wire. They'll a lot of times make a J hook out of it, so it's just a little bit bigger than what the diameter is. Push it down all the way through the hole, and when it gets to the bottom, it'll spring back out. When you pull the wire up, it'll catch on the bottom. Take a Sharpie and mark it off at the top. When you pull it out, you'll have a Sharpie mark, and you'll be able to see where the radius of the J was originally when you put it down there. That gives you some comparative information. The other thing that I have people ask me about a lot has to do with at what depth and what area of the slab should you put the sensors in when you're dealing with a slab that's elevated in pan decking. So the first question I get a lot is it 20% or 40%? So is it 20% would be if it's drying from both sides, 40% would be if it's not. Even if you have vented pan decking, there's not enough venting there to constitute it drying from two sides. So you would need to go to a 40% thickness or a 40% depth of the thickness. So then the question becomes, is it in the shallow section of the pan or is it in the deep section of the pan? And you're looking at calculating it based off the deep section, and then you want to do your best to identify where that deep section is. So if you have a 5.5 inch section and a 2.5 inch section in the shallow, you're going to calculate your 40% off the 5 inch or the 5.5 inch, and then try to identify where that thickest part is. So that's where you drill and install the sensor. People will ask, how do you figure that out? Well, it's not going to be a foolproof method, but they do make fairly inexpensive, under $100 metal detector that works a lot like a stud finder in a wall to identify wood. Is that you can take it and scan across the surface of the pan. The signal in the metal detector will be strong enough that you can hit the high spot, mark it, scan across the deep section. It won't pick up the bottom of that. Over to the next spot, picks up the high spot, and you know that between those two centers is where your deepest area is. So that's one of the ways that you do come up with a way to figure out where the deeper sections of a pan are. Okay, it looks like we don't have any other questions. So again, my name is Jason Spangler. Phone number directly is 800-634-9961 extension 235. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that you saw on the webinar, any of the stuff that we discussed in the Q&A, or if you want to talk about the brand new L6, please give me a call. Take care and have a great day.